This happened sometime during the 1990s. On a rainy Friday night, after a tiring day at work, John was sitting comfortably, watching TV. As it was a Friday night, he didn't have to worry about waking up early the next morning since his weekends were off. Instead of going to bed on time, he decided to relax and enjoy himself for as long as he could. Much to his annoyance, however, his leisure was interrupted by the sudden knocking on the main door. It was quite late. Who would visit him at this time? Annoyed but curious, John rose from his seat and walked towards the front door. As he reached it, he took a quick look through the peephole to see who was there. But all he could see was the silhouette of someone, surrounded by rain in the darkness of the night. Still looking through the peephole, John called out, "Who is it?" The figure stood completely motionless and silent. "Are you listening? I asked who you are," John yelled again. He looked through the peephole once more. The figure was still there, but this time, John noticed another detail. The figure's eyes had a faint red glow. Creeped out by the sight, John stepped back from the door for a moment, unsure if he had really seen what he thought or if it was just a delusion. After regaining his composure, he looked through the peephole again, only to find that the figure had vanished, nowhere to be seen. Relieved, John started to walk back to his living room to resume watching TV. But before he could do that, knocking started again. John cautiously returned to the door. This time, without making a sound, he slowly looked through the peephole again. What he saw completely terrified him. The figure had returned, but this time it was not alone. Several similar figures now stood outside the door, all shrouded in darkness with glowing, pale red eyes. Horrified, John shouted, "Who are you people? Why are you bothering me? Go away, or I'm calling the cops." But the figures remained unfazed by his yelling. The knocking on the door and the ringing of the doorbell grew more aggressive with each passing moment. Seeing no other option, John dialed the police helpline. As soon as someone answered, a paranoid John explained the situation. The police respondent informed him that he wasn't alone. Similar complaints had been flooding in from across the city for hours. They were short on staff, as every officer was already investigating these reports, so it would take time for someone to reach him. The officer instructed John to stay inside, lock himself in a safe room if possible, and not open the door under any circumstances until the police arrived. This response from the police only heightened John's fear, as the situation seemed far bigger than he had imagined. Then he noticed the knocking had stopped. Very slowly and cautiously, he looked through the peephole again. To his relief, the figures appeared to be gone. He took a long breath to calm himself. Then he noticed that the TV station he was watching had been interrupted by an emergency broadcast from the local government. According to the broadcast, multiple attempted home invasions were being reported by city residents. Many of the families and individuals who had initially reported such incidents were now unreachable by both authorities and their loved ones. The authorities had no leads on who was behind these attacks, but those who had reported sightings offered conflicting claims. Some described the attackers as a cult, while others insisted they were humanoid creatures, unlike any known animal. The broadcast urged residents not to spread rumors, to stay indoors, and to avoid opening their doors to strangers. Those facing such a situation were advised to lock themselves in the safest part of their home and keep all doors and windows shut until help arrived. As he was watching the broadcast, John felt a gust of cold wind followed by the slow creak of a wooden door. He suddenly remembered that he had forgotten to lock the side door of his house. Before he could act, he sensed a presence in the room with the side door open. John slowly turned his attention to the room. At first, all he could see was pitch black darkness. But, as his eyes adjusted to the dark, it became clear that the humanoid creature he was at his door earlier was now standing there, its pale glowing eyes locked on him. Terrified, John froze, unable to run, only before realizing that other creatures are also there. Now shaking with extreme terror, John stared at the figures, realizing this might be the last thing he will ever see. The creature then smiled at John in a very disturbing way, just a moment before lunging at him at lightning speed, leaving nothing of John behind, except his blood splattered on the walls.